Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to do a frequency table and a histogram for your first project in Excel. Besides the descriptions, this should look very similar to your projects where you have a one table for your minimum, maximum number of classes and class width, another table for your lower class limit, upper class limit, and frequency, and then a blank box where I want you to put your histogram so I'm not looking all over the place for it. Now here there's two columns just because I want to see you use the formulas and functions, but then if you need to round it, just put your final choice in this column. So let's get started. So since I'm looking for a formula or a function, you always have to type an equal sign before a formula or a function. Now for the minimum, there is a function, M-I-N, or min, open parenthesis. Then you have to put in your numbers. So to put our numbers in, I'm going to go over to A2 and then Control-Shift down to select all of them at once. And then just press Enter. So my minimum here is 69.5. Let's go to 65 for my final choice. Now for the maximum, it's the same thing. Type an equal sign, max. And again, it's looking for the numbers, so I'm using my arrow keys to go select A2. And then once A2 is selected, Control-Shift down and Enter again. So my maximum's 104.1, so let's say 105. Now the number of classes, there isn't a formula or function. So if you really want to, you could put not applicable and just pick your final choice for the number of classes. Let's do 5. 5 seems like a good number for this one. Now for the class width, there is no function for it, but we know a formula from class. And that's where you do the maximum minus the minimum divided by the number of classes. So again, because it's a formula, I'm going to type equal first, and now we need the maximum. Now you can use the mouse to select the maximum, but what I'm going to do instead is use the arrow keys until it's highlighted. So maximum minus arrow keys again, minimum divided by, which is just the / number of classes. Now this formula, F3 minus F2 divided by F4, is going to do the division first according to order of operations. But our formula says to do the subtraction first. So I need to go in and enter in some parentheses. And we get 8 for our class width. No rounding needed. I'm just going to leave that as 8. And now to go in here. So my lower class limit is going to be 65. And then I need to add 8. So I could do that manually, but I'm going to use a formula again. So equal. And I'm going to select the cell I want, which is H2. It might be different in your case, plus 8. So 73. Now the reason why I want to do a formula is I can just drag it down until I get to my 5 classes. I left some extra room in case you choose to do more than 5. It's really up to you how many classes you want. Now for the upper class limit, this one will be 72.9. Now I'm going 0.9 because my data has 1 decimal place. And then I'm going to use a formula again just to add 8 to that. And drag it down. One thing I forgot to mention, so let me undo that. So Control Z to undo it. If you're dragging a formula down, you need to have the cell selected so there's a green border around it with this green square. You want to hover over the green square until you get this black plus sign. You don't want the 4 arrows or the white plus sign. You want the black plus sign to drag it down. So now that I have my class limits determined, we need to do a frequency. Now, this one is going to be a little bit more difficult, but basically what we want to do is count how many numbers are greater than or equal to this number and less than or equal to this number. And there's multiple ways you can do this. There's the sum product formula, and then the Countifs formula. I'm going to show you how to do it with Countifs. So we're going to equal Countifs, and then we want to fill it in. Now you can see right below where I'm typing, it does tell me what it wants me to put. It says criteria range 1. If you don't know what that is, up near the formula bar, there's this X check mark and then F subscript X. If you click that, it gives you a more detailed description of what it's looking for. So for the criteria range 1, we want all the data. The range will always be all the data. So I'm going to click on A2, then Control Shift down. Good. Then for criteria 1, I want that to be greater than or equal to my lower class limit. Now when you do greater than or equal to, you have to put it in quotation marks, and then the greater than sign and the equal to sign. It is important that the greater to comes before the equal to, and then the quotation marks again. Now I need to tell it what to be greater than or equal to, but I'm going to do an ampersand to connect them. So I need to scroll back to the top real quick, and I want it to be greater than or equal to the lower class limit. So that'll count all of them greater than or equal to 65, not 605, which should be all of them because they're all bigger than my minimum. So that's what the criteria range 2 is also for. So again, select A2, select all the data, Control Shift down. But this time, I want it to be less than or equal to, again, surrounded by quotation marks, ampersand, and I believe it's going to be I2 this time. Yep, my upper class limit. And we only have the 2 criteria, so we can just click OK and we're done. So there's 5 numbers between 65 and 72.9. Now I am going to drag this formula down just once. And we're going to see a problem with the formula. You see this green triangle? Well, let's see what the problem is. You can read this. Formula omits adjacent cells. And if you understand Excel, that's good. But otherwise, what I do is once I have the cell clicked, I click up in the formula bar. So it highlights me everything. So if I look, it has the 73 and 80.9. Good, that's what I want it to do. But if I look over at my range, do you see how it shifted down 1? Well, that's because I dragged my formula down 1. So all the cells get shifted down 1. To prevent that, we need to use dollar signs. So what I'm going to do is delete this because it's incorrect and start over. So let's do FX. Criteria range 1. So I'm going to start here. Control Shift down. Quotation mark greater than or equal to, quotation mark ampersand, the lower class limit, Control Shift down, quotation mark less than or equal to, ampersand. Don't forget the ampersand. That's the most common mistake, upper class limit. And like I said, we need dollar signs. So I'm going to select the criteria. And to get the dollar signs, you can either type them in manually, but you need 4 dollar signs, or you can just press F4. And it inserts them for you. And I do that with both the ranges. So I highlight them and then press F4 and click OK. Now, if I drag the formula down, there's no more green triangle in the upper left corner of the cell. And I can also click here and notice how my blue range did not shift down. Let's check this one. Also didn't shift. The red and purple are shifting down, but the blue is not. That's the difference between dollar signs and no dollar signs. Good. Now that our frequency table is done, we want to make a histogram. So actually, to do a histogram, it's easier if we start at the bottom instead of the top. And you'll see why, hopefully. But to get to the bottom quickly, you just press Control down without the shift. Now to select it, I'm going to go Control Shift up. And that has all of it selected. Once you have all your data selected, you click Insert and Charts. Click on this See All Charts. So there's this Charts section and then this bottom right arrow. And then it gives you recommended charts. It does have the histogram there, but if it doesn't have the chart you want, go over to all charts, look for what you want. We got histogram and Pareto. We want the histogram, and click OK. Now all I need to do is click and drag this to where I told you guys to put it. And I want to make it a little bigger so it's easier to read. Now, you will be required to put a chart title. Now, since these were just random numbers, I am going to put random numbers. But you are required to put one pertaining to the examples I gave you. Now, Excel is pretty good at creating its own histogram. So this one used 7 classes instead of just 5. And it started at 69.5 instead of 65 like I did. So to make it look like mine, what you want to do is you want to select this horizontal axis and double click it. And it should bring your format axis options up on the right over here. Now our bin width, remember bin just means class, I believe. Let me scroll back to the top. Yep, our class width was 8. Then you also want to do an overflow bin and an underflow bin. So your overflow bin will be your second to last upper class limit. So in my case, 96.9. And your underflow bin will be your first upper class limit, 72.9. And then just press enter. If we scroll down, I have my 5 classes, and if I hover over each bar, this first bar has 5 in it. 5, 25, 31, 35, and 4. So this matches my frequency table. So that's how you do a frequency table and a histogram in Excel. If you have any questions, please email me or ask in class. Have a good day.